What's up, everyone? Brotrio here, and 2019 was a great year for games, but it had some really awesome boss fights, and we're here to tell you what our favorites were.
We're going to start off with what seems to be becoming a tradition of unconventional boss fights. Last year we were fighting that big boat in Gorma in Red Dead Redemption 2. This year's unconventional boss fight is the final bell run in Untitled Goose Game. Like, you might not be thinking, oh, that's not a boss. Can't have that.
It's kind of a boss.
It's kind of a boss.
It's
like, all of a sudden, you're against the entire town.
Yeah, the whole village is against you. I mean, they were anyway, but
Yeah.
You got the bell, and the village, any villager that sees you with that bell's like, you give me that bell, Goose. You took my slippers. You put that kid in the puddle. Yeah, that's enough. You tore down my fence 8 times.
The entire village is all about that bell. But
they love
they
that
hate
bell.
that goose, and they want that bell.
And they went through, right when you touched that bell, somebody went through and locked all the gates behind you. So there's only one way to go, and it is the worst possible way.
Of the entire game in reverse. It's like flipping the castle upside down in Castlevania, but goose.
Now, it also shows why they're so mad about that bell right at the end of that, too. Because there's a big pile of bells in his goose lair. He's got a horde of bells, and that is why the town is so mad at that foul goose.
We've said it before, and we'll say it again. We love us some secret final bosses. And Yoshi's Crafted World had one of the best collabs of anything, because it not only was a secret final boss, it was also a boss rush, which are the two best things in gaming. And to collaborate both of those into Yoshi's Island with Kamek keeping her form, but also doing what the other bosses did, was an amazing final rush to complete that game. It may not have been the most challenging, but it definitely was fun.
Yeah, I mean, that final battle ramped the difficulty up quite a bit compared to the rest of the game. And like, because they start you off, it looks kind of weird because you're like, oh wait, the floor looks funny. Nope, those are donut blocks. If you stand still too long, you fall, you die.
Not to mention, Kamek is like wiping the floor with half of her attacks, so you have to flutter jump to your life's content. And wait, that's not the thing, is it?
No, just keep going. It's fine.
Okay.
Yoshi flutter jumps.
I meant life's content. But Kamek wiping the floor definitely tests your skills, and you have to do that while dodging crayons and all this shit because it's Yoshi's Crafted World.
Cardboard.
It's wacky and wild, and you top it off with this weird-ass Yoshi mech fight, and it was one of the best ways to complete that game, other than beating Bowser.
Baby Bowser.
Whatever, Aaron.
Fine, Aaron, they get it.
We've discussed it before. I really enjoyed playing Dead Cells. I know that game didn't come out this year, but it had the big giant DLC that did come out this year, added a whole new area, whole new boss, and the giant is absolutely insane. It is like an old school arcade boss.
Old school Nintendo boss too, because you gotta hit his hands.
Like you gotta fight his hands.
Yeah, you have to fight his hands.
Fight his hands and hit him in the giant eye. That is verbatim Nintendo.
That is.
Yeah. But you can only hit him in the eye once you've killed one of his hands, and his eye doesn't pop out very long.
No, you have to be ready to go once it pops out, and hit it with everything you've got, and then just try to survive the hands for round 2 until the eye comes back out.
The weirdest thing you showed us was that he's got those like eye lasers, that it's not only lasers, it's also walls, so like you can't escape them. You are trapped in this damage
and then
vortex,
you're stuck,
basically.
And then he starts shooting hand lasers at you, and you have to dodge those, and it's like a bullet hell all of a sudden. And
it was a lot harder than any Nintendo hand boss.
And that giant definitely isn't pulling any punches, because you're going to die, and you're going to die a lot. But you're going to love it because it's Dead Cells, and when you finally kill him, oh, it's so rewarding. When we were doing research for this video, Astral Chain really stood out to me because I looked up a video of all the boss fights on YouTube, and it was 3 hours long. There's a lot of bosses in that game. It's probably like half the game. But to me, the best boss was the Homunculus, because it's a really, really crazy looking boss anyway. It's a multi-part boss because you keep fighting it in different developmental stages throughout the game. But it also tests your skill, and you pretty much have to use every Legion at your disposal at that moment to do it, and that is one of my favorite ways to do a boss.
Yeah.
Because if you have to pull every trick you have out of your pocket to succeed, then it's doing a good job as a boss.
Yeah, that's like the boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. That's always a solid boss design when they do that.
Not to mention, you can throw a billboard at it.
That was like a glorious finisher move. I was so proud of myself after that happened, even though it was kind of a cutscene. I felt like that was me doing that. Astral Chain didn't quite make our top 10 list, but the boss fights were definitely off the chain.
If you've already watched our top 10 games of 2019 video, then you know I really freaking loved Days Gone.
Really, Freaker loved it.
Oh, God. But the main reason I loved it so much is because of the horde battles. You fight what feels like hundreds upon hundreds of freakers all at once. It's the most stressful situation you could get into. So much so you spend at like 75% of the game just straight up avoiding them because it's instant death. I mean, God forbid, you stand outside a cave at night and they all come out. You just hide in a bush and you wait until morning and you're just like, good God, get away from me.
I mean, I'm just impressed the PS4 can handle that many enemies on screen.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
so
ridiculous.
So many enemies on screen.
And there are two big ones that come to mind. The first one is, it's in a town when you first get the napalm. That horde's okay, but the lumber mill horde, one, is built up a lot more in the story, and two, is bigger regardless, so it's way better to take it on. Not to mention there's elemental like traps you can do, because you can run past some logs and cut the straps on them and collapse logs on top of the zombies. Is ridiculous. I mean, I spent like 20 minutes just prepping, setting traps and shit before I woke up the zombies with my little car alarm bombs and then threw napalm on them. It was absolutely ridiculous. Days Gone, the horde battles are off the wall insane, and some of the best, most fun times I had in 2019.
There are certain things in this world that are undeniably cool. And 3 of those things happen to be in this boss fight. You've got Ghosts, you've got Shark, and you've got Pirate. Captain Fishhook in Luigi's Mansion 3 is the best boss in that game, in my opinion. Pretty easily. And that game has some good bosses. He starts off, he just possesses a boat. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, of course.
I thought that was going to be the whole boss fight. And he reminded me of Belcher from Donkey Kong Country 3 a little bit, because he just possesses the boat. He's got a mouth and eyes and still one bad eye.
You gotta throw shit in his mouth.
You throw exploding barrels in his mouth that the other ghosts are throwing. You think after the first one he'd be like, alright guys, let's cool it. Because if I just tire Luigi out, he can't do anything to me. But no, they just keep lobbing those barrels, and then you get him enough times, he comes out, then you have to pretty much fight him like a regular ghost. But that's also super fun. You got to avoid his hooks, and when he gets stuck in the ground, that's when you get him with your flashlight. Suck him up, and then he possesses the big part of the boat. You still beat him in the same way by throwing barrels in his mouth, but it gets almost straight up scary for a minute there, because
it's one of the most intense moments, because it's like an action movie.
He upturns the boat, and if you have to plunger to this thing at the top of the boat and hold on for dear life, and it's just got this camera angle, and it specifically goes to this angle of Luigi holding on for dear life, horrified of falling into this hellmouth, and It was absolutely amazing. A super exciting boss fight, and just
super creative too.
Yeah, not to mention, mad props to Nintendo for the little touches, because when you're sucking in this ghost, Luigi is reeling him in.
Yeah, they all had their little quirks when he was sucking him up, but reeling him in was the best one, I think. And it was just a solid boss in a solid game, a ghost-busting good time.
And you know, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is going to be somewhere on this list.
Lightsaber fights, man, they're just cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, the question is, what is going to make the list? Is it one of those damn frogs? Hell no. Is it the bat? Close.
Hell no.
Is it Terran Malicos? Very close.
Very close. I'm Terran Malicos.
But we think the best boss fight in the game, because this is what really ramps up the game from pretty good to really great, was when you fought the Ninth Sister. You are on Kashyyyk, and you just got done flying on that bird, and then you land down, and there's this behemoth lady there, and she is just set out to kill you. And
oh, she is pissed.
Just the largest Force user I've ever seen.
She's massive. Not to mention, she has a lot of great phases, because she starts off with her single-bladed lightsaber, which is cool, and then you get her health down about a fourth of the way, boom, double blades it, and then
throwing it everywhere.
You get her health down half of the way, and then she really starts doing more force-based attacks, like whenever she hits the ground and throws earth at you and the wave, and you have to double jump over it. She charges at you, and you can't block that shit, and you just have to keep force pushing her. Do not use your force for strong hits, because you will need them, because it's very hard to dodge her shoulder charge, because she's like charging Chuck when that shit turns red.
Yeah.
But the Ninth Sister really ramped up the game as far as fun and difficulty, and really just Star Wars gameplay of what you think it should be.
And a big moment for Cal Kestis to overcome.
Huge moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he beats a Sith Lord on his own. This is young little Padawan, barely survived Order 66, and he is now taken down an Inquisitor.
I've said before that it's always a treat when the final boss is the best boss in the game, because it seems very rare. But Virgil subverted that expectation tenfold in Devil May Cry 5. More specifically, the fight with Dante. The fight with Nero was good too, but I prefer playing as Dante, because
It's Dante.
It's Dante.
Yeah.
Virgil's doing his normal thing.
Dante is Devil May Cry.
Yeah. Virgil's doing his normal thing, doing his stances, throwing little daggers at you or whatever, quick movements and all that. But if I preferred Trickster style, so me dodging around all the quick movements Virgil had coming was very fun and satisfying. Switching everything on the fly to keep Virgil on his toes was super fun. And then when he starts going Sin Devil Trigger against your Sin Devil Trigger, hell yeah. That was a good-ass fight, man. Virgil was my personal favorite boss fight of 2019 because of the fast-paced, fluid combat of Devil May Cry, mixed with the emotion behind the battle that was going on and the stakes and everything. It culminated in an epic, awesome boss fight that really makes me hope they pump out Devil May Cry 6 eventually.
Borderlands 3 was our #1 game of last year, so you know some of the bosses are going to be on here too. Now, we had to narrow it down, and we decided on the Rampager as the best boss from the game because it had the most variety. Really, up to that point, you'd never fought anything similar to that anyway. That was the first,
giant monster.
Giant
basically.
monster and real challenge.
Also, the first vault monster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big moment in the story.
And it's just jumping around. It's shooting laser rib cages at you.
Yeah, the chicken. And he cycles through 3 separate elements.
Oh yeah, and then the Iridians start showing up and messing things up, and there's just so much going on in that boss fight.
This boss fight was made to be fun, because Borderlands, for those of you that haven't played it, whenever you get downed, you can get a second wind by killing something, and then you get back up. And this boss fight has these little spirits floating around that you can just hit with any stray bullet and get back up. So you're basically, they made it so you can win this boss fight and stay in the fun, because it is one of the most fun shooter bosses you can imagine.
Also, what is Borderlands without the loot? He drops a really cool rocket launcher that you can swap elements.
Yeah, it cycles through all 3 of his elements and shoots those radioactive chickens at people.
Why do you keep calling them chickens?
They look like chicken carcasses.
Oh, okay.
They do. Like if you took a skeleton chicken and shot it out of a rocket launcher, that's what it would look like. The best bosses in video games are the ones that make you want to defeat them for a long time. Most of the time, that's at the beginning of the game. But Xehanort, his ass has been asking for it for years. Because Kingdom Hearts 3, 1, had a long time between 2, and Xehanort was really introduced as far as Master Xehanort in Birth by Sleep, which still was a long time between that and Kingdom Hearts 3.
And he was teased in Kingdom Hearts 2 in the secret ending.
Xehanort's been asking for it for a while, so it definitely was worth it to take your Keyblade to his ass and send him back where he came from, and then he was young again, and it was weird, and then Sora was in Yazora's world, and I don't know what the hell happened, but Xehanort, the final boss fight with him was absolutely ridiculous. You die in it, and it's awesome because it plays like the game over screen, but you can't do anything because it's actually part of the game, and then like your friends' hearts and shit bring you back.
That's awesome.
I forgot.
Yeah, he blasts your ass with the Keyblade and Kingdom Hearts, and he sends everything he has at Sora, and it works. That's the worst part. Sora actually dies like twice in this game.
One of my favorite parts of this boss fight was it corrected a mistake, in my opinion, from Kingdom Hearts 2, where it sidelined Donald and Goofy and put in Riku. No Riku, no Mickey, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, ride or die homies for life, fighting Xehanort. That's what it needed to be. And people don't like Donald as a party member. I hear that a lot. But those are his people. Goofy and Donald are with Sora. That is Kingdom Hearts to me. So when they brought those two into the final battle instead of Riku or Axel or anyone else, I was beyond elated.
Not to mention, Kingdom Hearts 3 kind of has like the best ending gauntlet. One, it is a gauntlet because it takes forever, but 2, it's one of the games, like, once you start it, it's almost impossible to put down. Like, I stayed up until, like, 6 a.m. the night I beat it, because I just could not stop. And you fight Xehanort, like, 4 times in the entirety of that. Like, he's floating around a city, going Inception on the city with you in it, and it's weird. And then you're fighting him in the arena, and then you fight, like, all 13 of him, because he's, Organization 13 and all that
Hearts
shit.
Lore.
But, god damn it, was Xehanort a great way to cap off the Xehanort saga. It ended really well in a great boss fight that really, 2019 peaked early, because this came out really early in 2019, and it was the best boss fight, not only for the action, but also the weight it carried for the franchise. With that out of the way, we are finally done talking about 2019.
Mostly.
We still have a few games in our backlogs we're working on, so we might talk about that in a discussions video or something. But for the most part, we're done with 2019. It was a great year, but moving on to 2020 next. I'm hoping 2020 will have some great bosses like 2019 did. If there were some bosses in 2019 we didn't mention, be sure to mention them in the comments. We'll love to hear them. Because I know Sekiro had a lot of ridiculous bosses, I'm sure. And other games we didn't play had great bosses too. So let us know some of your favorites in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And stay tuned to Brotrio for more content.
Do this, but in a Mickey Mouse voice.
The whole
Xehanort
thing?
from Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh boy.